Hey, Steve Gamache here, and welcome to another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. What we're looking at this time is the Kohetsu SLD Santoku 170mm knife. So this line of knives has a three-layer construction. So the hardcore cutting edge steel is what's known as SLD semi-stainless. And I've been using these knives, a couple different models of them for a 3 years now. And the steel's really good. It's heat treats around 61, 62. It doesn't really stain very much, so as long as you wipe it down and don't let it sit wet, it pretty much behaves like stainless. The cladding is also full stainless cladding, so it's a pretty easy knife maintenance-wise. Just be reasonable about it, and it does a great job. The SLD steel is easy to sharpen. It takes a very nice edge. It's not the world's greatest edge retention, but it's very, very easy to sharpen, and it's a nice steel. That's, again, I've got a little bit of time experience with these and really, really like them. So steel works great. These are a great value line. You get a lot for your dollars on this line of knives. The weight and dimensions will vary a little bit from knife to knife. And so this particular one is 143 grams or 5.0 ounces. Edge length is right about 170 on the nose from the tip to the back of the heel, known as the chin. And that's about 6.7 inches. Overall length, about 12 inches right on the nose. Spine thickness, these are generally fairly thick coming out of the handle. Then they thin up as they go down the blade, and then they have fairly generous grinds on them, which vary a little bit from knife to knife, but the performance really is quite good on these. And so the spine thickness on this particular one, and again, it's going to vary, is about 4 millimeters above the chin, the back of the heel here. I got about 2 halfway down the blade, which pretty much just keeps that 2-ish right there. And then you'll see the grind kick in, and that's where it thins out towards the tip. And it gets pretty thin at the tip. So these do a nice job. The choil shot at the back, you can see, again, blade's got some thickness to it, but they thin it out pretty nicely towards the edge. So performance is really quite good on these. The blade heights are typically fairly tall as well, and this one is no exception, about 48.5 millimeters tall. You've got a fairly thin neck on this one, and so there's a good spot there for your finger in front of the ferrule on the handle. So it's a kind of a good spot for a pinch grip right there. The handles are octagonal ambidextrous walnut with a black packawood ferrule. Always check these when you get these bigger tangs, necks going into the handles. Look closely, make sure there's no gaps. This has a little bit of a gap here and there on the sealing. So, use the sealant of your choice to keep moisture from getting in there, whatever you prefer. Circumference, I got about 74 millimeters where the two materials meet. And let's see, balance point with kind of the shorter blade and the handle is going to be about right there. So it's definitely going to be a little bit handle heavy as far as weight balance when you pinch grip it. So here's a pinch grip, and so it's fairly neutral, but you got a little bit of balance bias towards the handle, not much. Fit and finish is really quite well done on these. As I said, these are a great value. You get a lot of knife for the money on these. So they look cool. The fit and finish is really done quite well. They have kind of a semi-polish to them, as you can kind of see with the lights here kind of reflecting. But you've got what I think is hand-chiseled kanji on the right side of the blade as you'd be using it. It's fairly small, but it looks to me like it's hand-chiseled. And then if it's not, they've done a really nice job simulating that. And then you've got some embossed kanji behind that. You've got this cool lattice work pattern. Different knives will have a little different depth to it. So some will be pressed in a little more, some less. This one has a fairly defined latticework pattern. Some of them it's a little less defined. But it doesn't catch food, and it just looks cool, gives you a little bit of texture, some interest to it. And then they've got a fairly polished blade road, and it's really hard to see the cladding and the core steel. You almost have to you can kind of pick it up right there. It's really hard to tell, but even in person, but you'll see a cladding line there. So they've done a nice job cleaning up the spine, polished or rounding off the edges just a little bit, and they've done a nice job relieving or rounding off the edges of the choil into the neck. So, they're very comfortable out of the box and ready to rock and roll. This one had a nice, maybe 6 out of 10 on my scale out of the box edge. So pretty nice out of the box edge on them. They're stiff blades. They've got a lot of confidence on the cutting board, good performers, great values, nice fit and finish. I think I mentioned I've used I'm rocking the 180 Guto in my knife drawer right now of this line, which is one of my kind of go-to favorite little knives for a lot of, you know, quick tasks. And so I've used the Bunka, I've used Santoku. It's just a good solid line of knives. They can be a little on the curvy side, depending on the knife. The 210 Guto I just reviewed had a pretty nice flat spot towards the back, but you can see the Santoku as well as the Bunka tend to be a little on the curvy side. So if you're looking for something really flat, you know, this is probably not the knife on the samples that I have seen. The 180 Guto actually has a flatter profile than this. I guess they just, you know, they shape those just a little differently, being different types of, you know, knife shapes. Redundant, I know. But here's your profile. And you can see it's pretty curvy, no real flat spots to it. This, you can definitely rock this to about there, maybe a little more. So this will rock pretty nicely as well. So just to, again, as you can tell, I like this knife. It's a high value line. The fit and finish is always usually pretty good and consistent, and they're well made. They're straight. The grinds are pretty nice that I've seen. They're pretty clean grinds. So it's just a good all-around value line of knives. So this is the Kohetsu SLD Santoku 170mm knife.